Welcome, everybody, to another Mega64 movie club. This week's pick is brought to us by Sean.
5 billion people have died. It is the year 1996, and we're all fucked.
Oh, no.
Welcome, everyone.
That's not the movie. You just watched the news. Oh, man.
Jesus, Rocco Dark. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that 1996 news was especially bad. No, today we are watching a sci-fi movie. Sean chose this one for us. We announced it on last week's episode, 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys, about a viral pandemic, kind of. Did not know that was what this movie was about until we started. I was like, oh, fuck. I don't watch a pandemic movie. The graphic came up and I was like, oh no, what have I done?
I honestly thought it was going to be that's why you picked it.
No, God,
what a topical thing to watch in this trying time. I thought that's what it was.
No, it was me not knowing anything about. I literally knew nothing about this movie.
Oh man, that's great.
Now I had seen this movie when I was a kid, and I don't remember hating it, but I didn't remember loving it either. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently this movie is like highly lauded by critics and loved and praised. It has like an 8 out of 10 on IMDb and just really highly reviewed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, and I wanted to give full disclosure too, I saw it in theaters. They did a midnight movie showing of this maybe 10 years ago, and I went to it, and this movie and the last Sherlock Holmes whatever with Iron Man whatever in it, Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Tony Hawk.
Those two are have the record for me for fastest I went to sleep and latest I woke up. Both of those movies, I mean, I'm talking within minutes, out cold, woke up for the ending credits.
Oh my God.
I got to, in this movie, I don't want to get ahead of the plot with all that stuff, but I remember making it to when he suits up to go outside.
Okay.
And then I woke up when everyone was going, whoa, that ending. And it went, literally, that's all. Him suiting up, and then this is all in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
He suits up and then goes outside. I never saw the outside. I never saw him looking at the snow. I never saw any of that. So that's how quick I would. I just remember being there, and I was like, I did not sleep enough the night before. Fuck it, and I just went to sleep. So no disrespect to the movie.
Sure,
that was on me. That was me and my poor sleep schedule.
Right.
But I always in that first 5 minutes, I was very dazzled by the visual style and all that, as impressed as you can be in 5 minutes. So I was eager to watch this again and actually have an opinion. So,
well, I think it was only a matter of time before you would fall asleep during this movie at a midnight movie screening. This movie is wildly confusing and a jumbled plot, which we're going to get into. We're going to sort it all out.
Sure.
I think the best way to describe this is like a time-traveling sci-fi noir. Mm-hmm. About saving the world or maybe just being crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice way to put it. Anything else you guys want to say about this? Well, I will say that this movie stars Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis. It came out in 1995 and was directed by Terry Gilliam, who is of Monty Python fame, the one American member of Monty Python, later went on to direct a ton of movies, become a famous American filmmaker, made one of my favorite movies of all time, Brazil. But let's get into 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm trying to think the only other movie I've seen from his is, I think Time Bandits.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, Time Bandits, and a long time ago, Baron Munchausen, but I don't even remember what I thought about that.
I saw, I've seen Brazil once. It was with Derek, and it was at GDC, and we were both so sick and on so much medicine that I'm pretty sure that movie's weird on its own. but take into account like 5 gallons of NyQuil that we took. Like I was just like out of my. I don't know what that was. Like I don't know.
So,
well, this movie is it's kind of similar to Brazil. It's considered
really?
part of a trilogy with Brazil, an unofficial trilogy of Terry Gilliam films that they kind of take place in a dystopian future. And they kind of look similar aesthetically, this movie in Brazil.
Sure.
So anything else to say before we get into the plot?
No, I mean, I just still can't decide. I kind of can't decide what I thought of it.
Well, you have this whole episode figured out.
Let's talk about it.
Shakes till the end.
We'll talk about it. We'll work our way through it because I have some questions that maybe you guys can help me answer because it was a little confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this movie takes place, as Sean said, after a post-apocalyptic... Well, it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. In 1996, a deadly virus is released that kills 5 billion people on Earth, like over 90% of the Earth's population. Fast forward to the year 2035, and Bruce Willis is a prisoner living in an underground, subterranean prison. This is like... Even though these are prisoners, these are also the last survivors of this pandemic. The last, 9% of the Earth's population. So they go up to the surface every once in a while to collect animal samples and just scope out how the planet is going. All the humans are underground, so there's nothing left above except for wild animals. And Bruce Willis suits up in this cool suit. This is where it looks similar to the movie Brazil. Everything in this movie, actually, the set designers only bought stuff that was available up to the year 1996 to decorate the future. They didn't fabricate anything. They just hit up flea markets. So it's all found gear and corsets and tubes and lights. I actually think it looks really cool.
Yeah. I agree.
Bruce Willis, basically he's a prisoner, and this prison, they have a scientific program where they send prisoners back in time so that these prisoners... Well, here's my first problem with the movie. It's not really clear at first why they're sending people back in time, which is okay. You don't really know. They have a plan to save the world, and they have to send these prisoners back in time. There's speculation. Do these prisoners ever come back? Are they pardoned or are they killed? What happens to them? We don't know. Bruce Willis is selected, and he's sent back in time, supposed to go to 1996 to find that moment or, the event when this virus was launched, be there and see what he can gather to help save the future. But he's accidentally sent back in time to the year 1990, where he is almost immediately just picked up and locked up in a mental hospital. So that's kind of the setup for this movie, and it very quickly goes from sci-fi futuristic world to Bruce Willis is locked in a mental hospital, and there's kind of nothing in between. And the first part of this movie, you're in a mental hospital.
And the way that he shoots
let's talk
things,
about it. Yeah,
the way that it's you don't know. It's is Bruce Willis just crazy, or is he right? Or I find that I don't really like Terry Gilliam's directing style. It makes me uncomfortable. I think it's supposed to. I think that's what he's going for. But all the camera shots are so weird. You're looking into camera sometimes. It's just
Can I ask you straight out, Sean, because I know you picked this movie.
Yeah.
Did you like this movie?
I did. Okay. Wow. I was really wondering if you'd be happy with your pick or not. I liked it a lot, actually, and it gave me at first I didn't in the middle, halfway through I was I don't know about this, what am I watching? But by the end, and I thought about it all day since I've watched it, and I've just been dissecting it more, and it's no, I like this. This is a cool sci-fi movie.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, and I think Brad Pitt is great in this movie, which I guess he was nominated for an Oscar for this.
He got his first Oscar nomination for this movie.
Yeah, he was great. He was really
I thought he was really good. And I know Brad Pitt's a good actor. that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. But seeing him as this role was very different than the normal Brad Pitt that you see. So I liked it.
So I think this is a cool sci-fi movie, and the idea of this movie is radical and it's fun to think about, but I don't think I like this type of movie where you're supposed to feel crazy when you're watching it.
Right. I agree with you.
This movie does a thing that actually like kind of pisses me off, where it'll take cartoons and old television and it'll re-edit it out of context to make you feel psychotic. You know, like cartoon characters hitting themselves with a frying pan or and jumping up and down just out of context. And it's like, and it's presented all like distorted and weird. And yeah, I think it is purposely supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I will say, just in terms of his filming style,
yeah,
I'm a fan, because to me, when I was watching, I know what you're saying specifically with that stuff, and I think I generally agree. But just in terms of the camera work, I was a fan, because I felt like it was a lot of like camera in his face tilted this way, you know, kind of like fisheye, like going into his face, and I was like, well, this is how. I mean, this is like how the Cell Saga in 5 minutes was shot.
So I love,
that kind of stuff.
Terry Gilliam. I love his style. I love his directing, but I think that he has a choice as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And really what I'm getting at is there's a type of movie. It's a genre of movie, and I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's like a surreal movie, but it's this kind of movie. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world is insane except for the main character, and therefore the main character, even though he's the only sane person, is the only crazy person, right? In an insane world, the sane man is the crazy person. That's this kind of movie. There's a movie that came out a few years ago that, what's it called? Like Sorry to Bother You, I think. Just a very surreal, like kind of existential movie. Those movies, they're hard for me to watch. And this is that kind of movie.
And there's a part, he's in the mental institution. All he wants to do is make one phone call. And it's just, they won't let him do it. And it's driving me nuts. It's like, let him make the fucking call. Let him just make the call and get out of the situation, because it sucks. Like,
This movie has a lot of just that filmmaking thing where, the character wants to do one thing and it's a simple thing. Walk out the door, make a phone call. But it's 5 minutes of, oh my God, is he even gonna fucking do the simple thing? Just do it.
Right.
All right, so let's just continue with the plot here. Bruce Willis is in a mental hospital, and we'll go over it, but right away there's a lot of similarities between his future world, as Sean mentioned, parallels with this 1990 mental hospital. He gets like hosed down and showered in similar ways.
Right.
And
there's like a panel of people he's talking to.
Yeah, the scientist that sent him back in time, he sits in front of a panel of 5 people, but in the mental hospital, he's interviewed by a panel of 5 doctors that want to know if he's crazy. And they think this futuristic world he describes isn't real. It's a figment of his imagination. In the mental hospital, he meets Brad Pitt, who plays the character, I think his name is Jeffrey Goins?
It's definitely Jeffrey. I'm not sure the last name, but yeah.
Last name is definitely Goins. So there we go. It's Jeffrey Goins. And Brad Pitt is just a kooky, off-the-wall, spasmodic guy who wants to help, kind of believes Bruce Willis. Even though Brad Pitt is insane, he's his crazy buddy. And he's like, yeah, we're in this hospital together, and the man, he's here to bust us, but we're really sane, and we think we're crazy, but we're not, blah, 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 blah. I'll help you escape. Right? That's kind of the shorthand, but this is a very long segment of the movie where Bruce Willis is trapped in this mental hospital. What do you want to say about this part?
Well, I will say that, like, this is the part where I hated the movie. Like, I thought, like, I was miserable. The worst situation is when you can't get anyone to listen to you and take you seriously. And I just feel so bad for Bruce Willis. It's like, oh my God, just listen to him for 2 seconds. Like, please God, just give a second. And like, I was getting so frustrated. And then like, Brad Pitt gets the key for him to escape, but he's so drugged up that he can't, like, Bruce Willis can't leave. And it's like, God damn it. Like, just catch a break. And like, this is miserable.
Yeah, so there's a couple things here, some foreshadowing the movie, which is Bruce Willis is in a mental hospital and he's under so many drugs, he drools and he can barely like stay awake sometimes. And he's interacting with Brad Pitt. That may or may not come into play later on the movie, depending on if you think this all takes place in Bruce Willis's head or if you think this is actually happening.
Right.
And he's on a mission from the future. So should we move forward with the plot here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Basically, the doctors they don't believe Bruce Willis, and he escapes, but they are able to capture him and bring him back, and they put him under heavy security, and then something miraculous happens. He vanishes out of heavy security, and they don't know how. They speculate that he climbed out through a vent and then reinstalled the vent on his way out. But we see that Bruce Willis has actually been zapped back into the year 2035. He's been brought back to the future, and the scientists want to know about his progress. And this is where the movie starts getting kind of cool and kind of interesting, because now we're finally out of this mental hospital and we're getting into this sci-fi. They're playing recordings of the phone call that he made, but it's a totally different recording. It's a woman on the phone. He's like, I don't know what that is. There's sort of a mystery being built in here, and this is where we start to get this noir element in this sci-fi noir.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to say about this part of the movie? Anything?
I don't know. It's just this is the part, as you said, I was like, okay, he's out of the mental hospital. Once he's out of the mental hospital, I feel so much better. Legitimately feel better. And then I do think this is where it started switching over for me. Obviously, they're talking about the 12 Monkeys thing the whole time. And then I will say at the beginning, it starts with this weird dream that he has of him, a little boy at an airport, and a guy getting shot. And you keep seeing this again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, another sorry, not to cut you off, but another element of the noir here is this mysterious femme fatale. And Bruce Willis, as a kid, witnessed this traumatic event at an airport, and it haunts him to this day. And he dreams of it, and he sees flashes, particularly of this blonde woman and these men with long hair and guns running through an airport shooting at each other.
Yeah.
He dreams about it all the time.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I thought once we got back to it, it's okay, they send him to 1990 by accident. And then he goes to 1908 for World War One.
He goes to 1917.
17.
You saw the movie.
Right. Oh, right.
You saw the movie,
Obviously.
1917.
Duh.
All World War One stuff will always be 1917 from now on. Let us.
That's easy. That's easy.
Yeah, it was all
You're
right.
Then directly from there goes right back to where they should have sent him before 96. And so now he's in 96 where he's supposed to be the entire time, and now it's him trying to save the world.
And we should say when he does, so he's sent back to the future, and they do a status report. You fucked up. We're going to send you back. They send him back to 1917, and his friend from the future, Jose, is there in 1917 as well. They're both on this mission to save the world. And then Bruce Willis is shot in the leg and then zapped back to 1996, like you said.
I will say that the problem that I really have in this movie is that Bruce Willis is very unlikable. He just has no emotion, or you can't put yourself in his shoes, really. He's just so and obviously he's being drugged up everywhere he goes. He's in a shit situation, but you never can identify with him, I feel.
I agree with that. They said that maybe the filmmakers thought he might be too macho to make this movie because he just wasn't very vulnerable or anything.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I just feel like the whole time in this movie, you don't know what the fuck anybody's trying to accomplish. There's this vague, we're going to figure out how to save the future from this virus.
Right.
But you don't know how or what specifically they're trying to do that. And then you find out it's he's just going to observe the past. And then he'll tell us what he sees, and we'll use that information to figure out a cure in the future.
Right, which is interesting. I thought it was interesting too that they're not trying to stop the thing from happening. That's going to happen. We just need to know how to solve this problem now for us.
It's funny because at the same time, that is an interesting way to do a time travel movie. The past is set. We can't change it. So Bruce Willis just wants to go back and watch it and get more details out of it.
Right.
That's an interesting way to approach time travel. But from a movie standpoint, this dude's whole goal is to watch something, but he doesn't know what he's supposed to watch.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the whole time we're like, I don't know what the fuck you're working towards, man. Now you're over here. Now you're over there. What was that the thing you were supposed to watch? I don't know.
Right.
You're just left grasping for like some sort of objective to push towards. What did you think of the movie, Rocco?
Yeah,
So far?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. Is how do I say this? I didn't dislike any of what was there necessarily, but it just lacked it's like, as dumb as a goal. I'm going to compare it to Back to the Future just because of time travel, but
Okay.
at least the goal is personal. Okay, yeah, what if I could go back and see my parents? Oh, but if this doesn't happen, I'm never born, and this is like, it just starts piling up why this is bad, and obviously we know the stakes of this, but I just kind of felt unsatisfied with exactly what you're saying. It's kind of like, well, let me see what happens. Oh, that's what happens. Oh, okay. Did he do good? I don't know.
It's not only like this character. It's not like he's a shitty character, but he has no purpose because
Yeah.
he can like beat people up and he has a good memory, but we don't ever give him a task to use those skills.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
He just kind of gets slung around.
yeah. So that's kind of,
Yeah.
I think honestly, that's what holds this movie back is just
Yeah.
like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing for 2 hours.
Right.
And then
Which
it's
is-
kind of interesting, honestly, but we're just kind of stumbling into interesting things and then stumbling out of them,
Right. And I do feel like maybe this is not the way to describe it, but like there's no heart to the movie at all.
Yes. That was my next thing I was going to say.
Yeah, you're right, because Bruce Willis kind of kills people with no hesitation and no consequence. And then, yeah, the movie is kind of a victim to edgy 90s, like, we're just going to kill him attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was going to comment on that because I've seen, to this day, the only person I've seen dump on Schindler's List was
Okay.
Terry Gilliam. There was an interview with him where he said, a lot of people enjoy Spielberg's stuff, but I really kind of don't, because he's like, I watch Schindler's List and I see like, oh, and they all walked away together, and they all, and he's like, World War II and everything that happened during that was this confusing, and there was no bow on anything, and I don't like that he portrays it in a certain way. And I don't know, I never really, I was always kind of put off by that. Like, I don't think Steven Spielberg is even denying any of those things. He's telling the story of what one dude did,
Right.
and its emotional impact. So I don't know, I deny that, whatever. But I could just tell it's like, yeah, that kind of sentiment. I've said it a million times before. Spielberg's level of sap that he puts into stuff is my lifeblood. I love that kind of shit. I love heart in a movie.
Yeah.
And it's very clear Terry Gilliam ain't chasing that.
Well, let me tell you something. Side note, Terry
Yeah.
Gilliam, he made this other movie, Brazil, we talked
Yeah.
about. And one of the things that I like most about that movie, and kind of what he does, is he shows you the consequence of like a big rah, rah, rah moment.
Yeah.
And there's a moment, Brazil is like a sci-fi movie like this. It's not an action movie, but there are times where it kind of turns into an action movie. There's car chases, and at one point, like a car crashes and explodes, and the characters who are getting away from the exploding car, they're like, we did it, yeah! And they look back, and the bad guys are in that car, and they catch on fire, and then they kind of like scramble to get out of the car, and they're just like kind of trying to put themselves out. And the good guys are looking at them just being like, oh my God, like just kind of like, oh, I was just cheering, but those guys are suffering a lot.
Right.
So yeah, he always wants to show like, yeah, let's not forget that there are victims of this violence.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they're really, you can't really have a rah moment when you're having people trying to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of his thing. That's his MO.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I mean, you tapped right into that's the kind of movies he wants to make.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
But let's get back to 12 Monkeys.
Yeah,
So,
and I don't think any of that is bad. I think all directors having different voices is an excellent thing. but I'm telling you what connects to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I like them both as directors, so I
Yeah.
just think they have different styles and what they try to show.
Yeah.
Schindler's List is great. Brazil is also great, and
Yeah.
they approach things differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes back to World War I, then he goes back to 1996, and one of his psychiatrists who was evaluating him in the 90s, now in 1996, is giving a series of speeches where she kind of believes in time travelers throughout. She gives these examples throughout history. One of them is a soldier in World War I, of people who claim to be from the future, who claim that a disease is going to wipe out the world in 1996. After she gives this lecture, there's a strange character who wants to talk to her. This guy is foreshadowing he will come back later in the movie. But then after she gives the lecture, she's abducted by Bruce Willis, who has returned to this point in time from the future, and he wants to take her. He kidnaps her and wants to take her to Philadelphia because he's searching for the 12 Monkey. The Army of the 12 Monkeys, that's the group he thinks launched the virus, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think we should say this movie, if you don't know, if you've never heard, has like a world famous twist ending. This is almost like Sixth Sense level famous twist ending, except it's not that famous. What do you guys say?
I don't know, Derek. I'm not sure. I kind of saw this ending coming, and I'm confused about what the twist is. Okay, I don't know.
All right. Well, we won't get to the twist now, but we will
Okay.
spoil it at the end of this episode.
Yes.
But I guess in 1995, people were a lot easier to fool.
Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say for whenever I know time stuff is involved,
Yeah.
as soon as I see a weird thing, I'm always like, oh, it's gonna be him. You know, or whatever.
Yeah,
There's like 5 different movies where I thought that, because I personally don't try to predict what's going to happen in a movie. I like being really in a bubble, like, you know, oh, I guess, you know, I don't try to project or guess ahead. I'm like that. But whenever time is involved, I go, yeah, I know that's gonna be. Without going into it, because I don't know who you're seeing. Well, I know you've seen it, Sean. I can't remember if you saw it, Derek, but I had a similar moment in Interstellar.
Right.
That was a movie that there's something in that movie where I was like, well, I know what this movie's about, so this, and it was like they make some big deal out of it, and I'm like, yeah, I knew this part. Like, yeah, it's like if I know things are gonna get, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this movie is famous for its ending. It's kind of the only good thing about this movie to some people. We'll get to it in a little bit. Did you guys know this movie was based off of a different movie?
Yeah,
it
wasn't
says
it like
on
a
the
French
credits,
thing?
Yeah, in the credits for this movie, it says inspired by the film La Jetée, which I'd never seen a movie inspired by another movie. Like, is that legal? How does that even work? Can I do inspired by Star Wars? You know.
I thought
you know, like,
yeah, I thought it was a short film. Maybe I'm wrong, but
it was a short film. It was a 26-minute. So here, the original film was a 26-minute French film from 1965.
Yeah.
And apparently it was all shot in still images. Do you remember we did the 187 Ride or Die video?
Yeah.
Still images.
Yeah.
Mega64 twist tie-in.
Wow.
That was the style of the original film La Jetée.
Oh, damn. I had no idea.
The reason I bring it up, though, is because that twist ending and pretty much the whole premise of this movie is just directly lifted from that short, which is available.
I had no clue. Wow.
So if you like 12 Monkeys, anybody watching, you want to see La Jetée, that is available online. It's like half hour. You can check it out for yourself.
Oh, cool.
All right, so let's get to the end of this movie here. This is where it gets very convoluted. We're gonna blast through this really quickly for you guys at home. Bruce Willis abducts this scientist chick in 1996. They go to Philadelphia looking for the 12 Monkey Clan. They find them, and this is like an environmental group led by Brad Pitt. Apparently, Brad Pitt, after Bruce Willis disappeared, was able to get out of the mental hospital, and his father, who is a super rich virologist, a doctor who develops viral diseases, helped Brad Pitt kind of reestablish his life. He became an activist. He did this, he did that. He went to work for his father's company. So now Bruce Willis is thinking, oh my God, Brad Pitt is going to launch the virus. He goes to some like tuxedo black tie event to confront Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt is like, what are you talking about? I'm launching the virus. You're the one who gave me the idea, man. Don't you remember we were hanging out in the mental institution? You said we should create a virus and kill the world. And again, it's like, is this future a figment of Bruce Willis's imagination?
Right.
Are there things going on off camera that we're not seeing? Remember earlier I said Bruce Willis is drugged a lot to the point where he can barely speak.
Yeah.
They start to raise the question of, is he so drugged that he's doing things that he doesn't remember? Because at one point he goes to a department store and he looks at the ceiling and he gets a flash of that department store. He went there in the future.
Right.
When it was an abandoned, derelict building. But did he really go there in the future, or did he escape the mental institution when he was so high on drugs that he had this whole fantasy? We don't know. That's what the movie's trying to play here. So Brad Pitt, we don't know if Brad Pitt's going to do it or not. What kind of happens here? Oh, Bruce Willis disappears again. He goes back to the future.
Right. And
Different movie.
This is the moment where the psychiatrist is obviously scared, wants to get away from him, thinks he's crazy. And then things keep happening to show her oh, maybe he's not crazy. Maybe he's right. And then by the time he disappears and then comes back, she's all on board with him.
Exactly. So Bruce Willis kind of made a bunch of predictions while he had kidnapped this psychiatrist. And then after he disappears and she's rescued by the police, she sees that all those predictions came true. And now she believes that Bruce Willis is who he claims to be, a guy from the future trying to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yep.
So he finally comes back one final time, and now the psychiatrist, she's trying to find the army of the 12 monkeys. And when she sees Bruce Willis, she's stoked. Oh my God, you're right, you're going to save the world. And he's like, no, I'm crazy. Remember, you told me I'm crazy. It was actually kind of a tedious moment in the movie because it's like, dude, I'm on board. Your story's real. I don't need you to be questioning your own sanity.
Right?
Yeah.
We got this. We're 2 hours in this movie. Please just acknowledge that you're not crazy.
Yeah, so she convinces him that he's actually not crazy, that it's all true. She dyes her hair. This is where the movie gets really fucking gonzo. They go to a theater and she puts a fake mustache on him with spirit gum and fake hair and completely changes his look. He falls asleep in the movie theater, and when he wakes up, he finds her. She's dyed her hair blonde. She's the blonde girl from his dreams. Right. She's the blonde girl from the traumatic event that he witnessed when he was a kid. And she's like, fuck the world. I love you. We're going to do some hoity-toity romantic bullshit. We're going to go to Florida and see the ocean because you've never seen the ocean. It'll be beautiful. Rocco, I thought of you in this point, in this moment. Yeah. Bruce Willis uses spirit gum to put on a mustache in a movie theater and thinks he's going to wear that thing for a week and fly to Florida and it's not going to fall off or have any problems?
Oh, yeah. That reminded you of me.
Hey, for anybody out there who's ever tried to use a fake beard or fake mustache, spirit gum lasts for about 3 minutes before the sweat on your lip just annihilates that adhesive.
Yeah.
And Rocco could tell you that from personal experience.
Anything I have to film
frustrated
with a fake beard or a fake mustache is a bad day for me because it's like...
Not just you.
Here's a few good takes, and then now it's falling off. Yep. No, all right. Now it's okay. Now one more good take. Nope. We just need one more take of this, and it'll be fine. Okay, it won't stay on. Okay, well, nope, it won't. It's that every time, and it's like, oh my God. If you sweat at all, it sucks.
Miraculously, Bruce Willis's mustache stays on all the way to the airport in Florida. Here's the big twist ending, everybody. Here, we're going to spoil it. He walks into the airport, and he goes, I've been here before. Wait a second. I remember this from when I was a kid. And the kid version of him is there. Right. And he sees the older version of him. And he sees the blonde woman from his dreams. And they see, remember that guy who I said came and visited her when she gave a speech? And I was like, remember this guy later, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That guy was an assistant to Brad Pitt's father, the virologist. This guy is a psycho. He has stolen the virus. It was him the whole time. Funny that a movie called 12 Monkeys actually has very little to do with the group 12 Monkeys. That the characters known as the 12 Monkeys don't really factor into the story whatsoever.
All they end up doing is releasing animals at the zoo, and that's it.
Yes, exactly. This guy, this little known guy who's in 2 scenes throughout the whole movie, was really the bad guy the whole time. And he releases the virus. It's hilarious to see the lack of airport security in 1995 as portrayed. This guy essentially takes a biological weapon on an airplane, while Bruce Willis's girlfriend is like, "You go sit down, honey. I'll go pick up the tickets." And she goes and picks up his ticket for him, and they're just going to walk on the plane with no ID. Yeah, right. But okay, so they see the guy with the virus. They start screaming. Jose, the guy from World War I, shows up. Bruce Willis, that's the guy. We got to kill him. He gives him a gun, and Bruce Willis goes, and the cops see Bruce Willis with a gun, and they shoot him. And the little kid version of Bruce Willis witnesses the older version of Bruce Willis die. And that's the big twist ending. The kid sees himself die. It's a big loop, everybody.
Right.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Except to say, the final scene, that guy, the virus assistant, he gets on the airplane, and there's a woman, and she is one of the scientists from the future. And she's like, "Oh, can I get a sample of that virus?" So I guess you could say Bruce Willis, mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
Does she ask for a sample of it? Or I don't
Yeah, so one of the things I don't like about this movie actually is they play with characters' faces, and they just expect you to recognize people's faces instantly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was reading that woman was a scientist from the future.
I knew it was her when I saw her, but I don't remember her saying anything in that
shakes
scene.
his hand, I think.
Yeah, and I think he even does he give her a sniff of it? I can't remember.
No.
No.
He shakes her hand.
Yeah.
And I think that's all because he already opened it. I think that's all she needed to take it back, and they could analyze it.
Basically, the scientists needed to find the moment the virus was released so that they could, through the magic of time travel, get some valuable information so that in the future they could fix the problem. So the fact that she's there at the end suggests Bruce Willis, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I wasn't sure about. Like, are we meeting her for the first time and she's not a scientist yet, or did she go back?
To me, it was she went. I know what you're saying, Rocco, but I feel like she went back.
I actually read it the same way you did, Rocco, but just based on her age, probably not. But I also read Terry Gilliam never intended to include that scene.
Yeah.
Because he felt like it does imply that Bruce Willis's mission is in fact reality. Mm-hmm. And he thinks that scene breaks the mystery of, is this all happening in Bruce Willis's head or not?
Yeah.
So I guess just based on that, I read it as, well, then she's there to confirm that everything's real and mission accomplished.
Well, I overthought that part. I just kept thinking like, well, why her? And then she says, "Oh, I'm in the insurance business."
Insurance, yeah.
And I started crafting all these theories, like maybe she knew about this, or maybe she's like pulling, I don't know.
I think the movie is a little too muddled, honestly, and that hurts it. It hurts it as a movie. There's so much uncleared, muddled thoughts and half thoughts in this movie.
Yeah.
Half of this movie is brilliant, and then the other half is like, guys, what's going on here?
Yeah. It's lacking that real human element to me to make it like, not to say heart again, but it doesn't have to have heart, but it's just a little too out there rather than something truly connectable. Not that it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but
no. What I liked about it is, like, honestly, I watched it and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. And I kept thinking about it, and then it's like, well, so like this whole thing happened because of Bruce Willis. Like, this whole movie takes place because of him. And that's interesting. Like everyone dies because of him, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's a question of fate with this movie. Like, if Bruce Willis had never gone back in time, then he never would have given the idea to Goins about the virus, and the virus never would have happened, and they never would have had a reason to send him back in time to begin with.
Right. So, like, there's 1,000 things that had to happen, and it was like when he involved the psychiatrist, she became part of it, and like she called the Jeffrey Goins' dad, and like insisted that like, yo, like your son's gonna take advantage of you and like get this shit. So then he gave the virus to the assistant, who ended up being the guy to do it all. So she wouldn't have called him. That would have never happened. So it's like all of it had to happen the way it did for everyone to die, and then everyone died.
Yeah, and it's a nice little closed loop, much in the same way where the kid is haunted by this event of a man dying, only to live his whole life to find out that he lives that event and dies in front of a younger version of himself. It's just a whole big closed loop. When you think about, we always talk about Roger Ebert, and Roger Ebert reviewed this movie and said, pretty good movie that appeals more to the intellect than the senses.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's touching on. Like, this movie's fun to think about, but kind of unfun to watch.
I agree with that 100%, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Because
let's
go
rate
ahead.
it.
Okay. I will say really quick, a couple fun notes about this movie. Bruce Willis was willing to take a much lower paycheck for this movie just for with Terry Gilliam. And in fact, he wasn't even paid. He did it for free until the movie came out, and then he was paid after the movie came out because he was like, I know that's going to go under, I'm too expensive for this budget, so pay me later. And so they did. So that's kind of interesting, I thought.
Nice.
Johnny Depp was considered to be a role for Brad Pitt. They considered Johnny Depp instead of Brad Pitt, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
The budget was $29 million, and worldwide made $168 million. So this is a huge hit for them, especially back then.
Yeah. So I read this story where Terry Gilliam wanted Nick Nolte and Jeff Bridges to star in this movie, and the movie studio was like, "Nope, those guys haven't made a hit movie in like 7 years.
Yeah,
we'll make a deal with you. You can make this movie any way you want, but it has to be Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt because those are big stars." So he agreed, and what I was reading was the movie was a big hit, like you said. It quadrupled its money, and Terry Gilliam was thinking, wow, this proves that the world wants intellectual science fiction movies. Now I'm going to go back to Paramount, and they're going to be like, yeah, let's do more sci-fi movies. Let's do more weird shit. He said they went back, and they attributed all the success to 2 words: Brad Pitt.
Oh, man.
They said, Brad Pitt's the only reason this movie made any money. Get out of here, Terry Gilliam. We don't want to do any more weirdo movies with you.
Wow.
So there you go.
Interesting.
Actually, what's funny is Brad Pitt was a nobody before this movie came out, and they filmed this movie, and then Interview with the Vampire, Legends of the Fall, and Seven came out, and then this movie came out. So he went from like getting paid nothing to being like the biggest paid actor in Hollywood, all in the course of this film.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow. There you go.
Any other trivia you guys find about this movie?
Well, I was just gonna say it really is funny how it comes down so much to the actor that's in it a lot of times. I've heard this story, what you just said 1,000 times, where it's like, okay, they let them do what they wanted as long as they cast so and so. It's just always funny to me that it comes down to that, because I heard that about this, and then I remember that was the story with The Matrix. It's like, what have the Wachowskis done? What do they have that great of a record? And it's like, look, keep the budget low, do whatever you want, but Keanu's the main guy. And it's like, all right, fine.
That's crazy.
I just feel like that's a story behind a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's true though. I mean, that is a big deal.
I've heard stories that if you're an independent filmmaker, you're not getting a movie made unless you have a famous actor in it. Point blank. That's it. So spend your money, get a famous actor. Otherwise, this movie's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, back to my shakes. As we said many times in this review, I think this movie is fun to talk about. It wasn't a ton of fun to watch. That being said, I think that the story is very interesting. I will give it a 3 popcorn shakes from me. I think also I've seen Brad Pitt in a million movies. As I said before, I've never seen him act this way. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same with me. I'll probably give it 3. I think the art direction is just very few movies look like this. You know what I mean? So art direction is super commendable. I love how it's directed. And it's still an interesting concept with kind of interesting stuff, but it's just, yeah, it does lack that human element. So I'm not connecting to it a ton, but it's unique.
Okay. I also give this movie a 3. You know what I realize is we each give a popcorn shake rating out of 5. So the highest score a movie can get on Movie Club is a 15.
Yeah.
Nothing has gotten a 15 so far.
Sure.
I wonder if there's I wonder if there's something that I'm honestly trying to think what's something that we would have on here, and it's 5 from all of us.
Well, I would love to see a breakdown of what is the highest. How do all the movies stack up?
Yeah.
Because personal opinion aside, we're ranking these movies. If you take all of our ratings, it's that out of 15, and that's how these movies break down.
Yeah.
So, 12 Monkeys, that's a solid 9 out of 15 from the Movie Club guys.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad. Derek, what are we watching next?
I went back and forth. I think, I want to take it old school.
Okay.
Even older than Night of the Hunter. We're going to go way back.
Oh, my God.
Ooh.
Okay.
The jazz singer.
Let me tell you how I first found out about this movie. I've seen this movie before. I want you guys to watch it. You guys ever seen Sopranos?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Sure.
You know what Tony Soprano's favorite movie is?
I do not.
He's always watching it.
Yeah. Is it White Heat? No.
No, it's an old gangster movie from 1931 called The Public Enemy.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
We're going to watch The Public Enemy, Tony Soprano's favorite movie. We're going to see what the Movie Club thinks about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and get your grapefruit ready. You'll get that reference after you watch The Public Enemy.
I'm kind of scared about that. I saw a YouTube video about a grapefruit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Anyways, so we'll be talking about that next time, everybody. Thanks for watching. That wraps up 12 Monkeys. Yeah, stay weird. Am I crazy? Is this reality? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm going to say they should do 13 Monkeys.
Ooh, sequel.
Ooh. Well, they did 13 Ghosts, which is probably
They killed the monkeys, of course. Calling PETA.
Yeah.
There was a 12 Monkeys TV series. Did you guys see that?
I saw that was a thing. I can't imagine what that would be.
Never heard one thing about it.
It was on the Sci-Fi Channel, so it can't be good.
We're going to watch the entire series by next episode.
So they somehow find a way to be even more boring than the movie. The really great, really interesting movie.
I read a thing that they did. I think it went like 3 seasons or something.
Mm-hmm.
They did 2 seasons. Sorry, I know we were wrapping this up, but this is too funny to me. They did 2 seasons, normal, and then they said, I remember reading in the article, it was like, and then the 3rd season was played in a completely unexpected way. They barreled through it in 3 nights.
What?
Like, they literally, season 3 started, and it was like, all right, fuck it, 5 episodes tonight. All right.
Whoa.
It was like clear
we're done with it.
We're ready to air it and move on. Yeah.
We're
So
trying to clear the plate.
Anyway, more shows should be like that. That was Netflix before Netflix. Just binge it.
There you go.
Anyway.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.